Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, we are going to be going over the matches from the weekend, the Major 3 tournament for the CDL. It was a pretty darn good one. We had some crazy runs, crazy storylines, people winning their first event, and overall, a ton of good matches, a lot of good comebacks, storylines, a lot to watch. I had a ton of fun watching really the first event. I was able to, capture and watch pretty much all of it for this season. So super fun time with that. And that's pretty much going to be the whole episode. We're going to be talking about outlooks for teams going forward, some history that happened at this event, making a team of the tournament, kind of like a team of the week, something that we've seen recently on the breakdown. I've had an idea for it forever, and I was like, you know what? They did it. Let's do it. Let's do a team of the tournament. So shout out to those guys for the idea. We're going to be doing that, diving into that. Talking about matches and no predictions for this week because we've got about a week and a half off before Brock and I head to Madison for the matches that Minnesota is hosting for their home series event in Major 3 or Major 4, excuse me. So if you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We had a good wave of new people subbing and watching the video in the last one, so still making the push towards 1,000, but we're getting closer and closer, so would appreciate the support. If you guys could support on there. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Brock, how you doing today?
Oh, doing good on this fine Monday. Good Major 3. Another different winner. But
Yeah,
sad my
you say?
LAG boys cannot pull through again.
Yeah, I mean, they were going to probably lose anyways, but we can call this a fluke event because of what happened for them. You can just use that excuse. Nobody can question you. Fluke event because of everything that happened. They had to play 6 players in one series. One of them hasn't played a pro event in 5 years.
Hey,
or any event for that matter. Any won a map.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, wild weekend though. Yeah, I'm ready to jump into it. Let's talk. We're gonna talk like news and stuff around the CDL, some history that happened, then do our team of the tournament, and then we'll go into the matches from the weekend and talk about the team's placements and stuff. So first, Major 3 broke the CDL viewership record with about 335K. Obviously, that has to do with Scump's watch party, the regular stream, like the Zumo watch party, any other watch parties that were going on were factored in, or any at least partnered watch parties. But overall, wild. Crazy to think 335K, and like you'd think, oh, most of that's Scump, but like even when Scump had his crazy like 170, like the main CDL stream was still at like well over 100K.
Yeah, it was like 120, 120, and it's like 170.
Yeah, which is absurd considering, the title we're playing and the time of year it is. Typically, like there's a major influx of viewers in like Major 1 finals, like the opening tournament, and there's a ton of viewers in champs. But the closer you get to the middle of the season, which is basically right now, Major 3 is like the middle, considering you had like Pro-Am, Major 2, and then we have 4, 5, and champs. Like Major 3 is basically the direct center, and that's usually when viewership is at its lowest, almost like a U shape for viewership. It seems like it's really high, drops off, and then in the middle it is just down, 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 and then kind of goes back up as we get towards the end of the year. So this ideally is usually the worst time for viewership, and CDL's popping and breaking records. That's very good to see considering the game we're playing.
Yep. Great
viewership
game.
is not because of the quality of the game that is out.
Definitely the players,
personalities. I would venture to say a lot has to do with ranked play as well.
Definitely.
I mean, you've got guys like Tim the Tatman, Courage, Dr. Disrespect, playing in a squad every day in ranked play, basically, and streaming that. And that is an audience that, I mean, obviously there's probably some crossover there, but I would venture to say that a lot of Tim the Tatman's audience and Dr. Disrespect specifically probably either didn't even know about competitive COD or hadn't played it at all. Courage maybe does, obviously, because his background.
Yeah,
in COD, so I would think that maybe he has some people out there watching and that know about COD, but I'm sure a lot of viewers of Dr. Disrespect and Tim the Tatman are only knowing Call of Duty really through Warzone, because that's kind of what those guys are more known for in the Call of Duty scene.
Yeah.
So I'd venture to say them playing ranked play and getting that exposure out there maybe made a lot of people be like, oh yeah, I like playing ranked. Maybe I'll tune into this COD tournament and get some more viewership. And then obviously Scump having a watch party because he's Scump helps a lot.
Yes, it does.
Also, why are they considering the switch to YouTube? I'm actually like probably one of the bigger fans out there of YouTube streaming. Like the quality of it is insane. And I also love the fact that it's much easier to pause and then play and come back to, or like, shoot, I want to see that play again. Let me rewind 20 seconds, catch it, and then fast forward back. I actually love on YouTube, how you can rewind and stuff like that. I think it's like an amazing feature, and I personally almost prefer it in that way. It's also easier to access on like a Roku, where you have the YouTube Roku app. I want to watch on my TV, but like
Yeah.
for the health of the league, they can't switch to YouTube. It's a short term money grab, and you're hurting the long term. Like Twitch is so much better with watch parties and everything, and just like there are more people that watch live streams on Twitch than YouTube. YouTube is more of a VOD platform.
Yeah.
Can't make the
definitely.
switch.
Cannot make the switch because
But
I'm doing too good.
and they might because they're dumb and they want money right away. They want the instant gratification rather than the long term.
Yep.
Talk about the event a little bit though. Scrappy wins Major 3 MVP. I would say this isn't crazy surprising to me. Obviously, Ultra wasn't like the top team I had winning, but it's not like their LAG from Major 2 last year where I'm completely stunned. If you would have told me going into this weekend that Ultra was going to win, I wouldn't have thought it was anything crazy. I came into the weekend, obviously, I picked Surge. You did as well. A lot of people were thinking, maybe Faze would take it home, OpTic, Thieves, NYSL, which we'll talk about that one. Ultra was right up there, probably in those like top 6 teams that people thought could take it home realistically. So not shocked. And also, if they win, I would expect Scrappy probably won MVP. So not shocking there, but shout out to Scrappy. Winning an event pretty quick into his career, only his 3rd major on a pro team, and he's got a chip under his belt.
He's definitely been popping off basically all season. Now he's got the chip.
And people were saying they couldn't play on LAN. He couldn't play on LAN. Well, I can't say that anymore because they beat some very good teams on their way to this championship.
They beat Atlanta Faze's 16 game winning streak on Search, and OpTic Texas is 9 win on Hardpoint.
Yeah, and it was also it was a silo search for the Phase one specifically, which they have looked like. I mean, obviously they've looked dominant on every search map. You don't go on a 16 map win streak without looking dominant, but this was, you could argue maybe their best map on that run. They were dominant, like Abezy, we just owned that middle A site, and they took them out on that map.
Good looks to see.
Also, Hecz wins his first pro event. Everybody talking about this on the timeline has really annoyed me. He wins his first pro event. Like, the wording of everything is getting too technical. Like, this isn't his first LAN event. He played at multiple events, like CDL Birmingham World War II, and then one other one, I believe, in BO4. But, like, the wording is very clear. He was playing on an amateur team at those events, so they don't count as a pro event is what they're saying. And then, like, people are saying, like, he's only the second player. Like, the CDL literally tweeted today. Did you see this?
Might have.
The CDL tweeted a picture. Only 2 rookies in COD history have ever won their first pro LAN event attended, and it's a picture of Hecz. And then it's a picture of the Quantic Leverage team with Scump, and it's like saying like Scump's the one. Bobby's in the picture. And they didn't even say it. Like, that's what Shoston commented. He's like, bro, Bobby is literally in the pic. And then Ake said incorrect 3, put some respect on Bob. And even if they said Bobby, it's not even correct. I saw a different stat, which I believe is the correct one, that says he is the first player since Scump and Bobby to do it. That's true, but also Big T, Rambo, Sharp, and Dodgers. I believe that was COD 4 tournament. Maybe Nats also won their first LAN attended, according to many other sources, and I'm sure there's other ones. Miracles was kind of a debate because he got a top 8 at UMG Chicago, which was like a tiny event. In Black Ops 2, his first event, I believe that's the Nade Shot Aches push event. That was technically the first LAN, but it was like a really small LAN that not everybody was at. And then Miracles went on to win the next 4 events, like his 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of his career. So like kind of a debate with him, but I get really annoyed. Everybody knows this, but I'm like, with everything, I've always liked history stuff, and for sports, I like to go back and like look at the history. And the same thing with COD. I like really appreciate the history of COD, and I hate when like Aches always talks about it, but I hate when they just like try to eliminate the stuff pre-CDL that they don't want to talk about, like the CWL, pre-CWL. That's all COD history as well, not just the CDL era.
Yeah, definitely. They just like brush it off. Like, we don't need to talk about that or bring that up ever. Yeah,
like this is also the CDL era is just as much of a part of COD history as the pre-CDL era is, because if we're talking like just CDL era, like Scump's not even considered like an all-time great, because he has a few chips here and there and played very well, but doesn't have a ring. Krim, has the one online ring, but you cut out 2 of his rings. Karma is like a trash player if we're only talking CDL, because he had the 1 year on Surge where he retired midseason and didn't play very well. Like they pick and choose what they want to talk about in history. They even have Bobby in the picture where he won his first event, and they just said Scump.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, that's why I appreciate people like Hecz though pointing it out, because like it's like when you talk about like the NFL saying like pre-Super Bowl era, like it doesn't exist. Like you might not talk about it as much because that's a little different and it wasn't on TV, but it still existed. You can't just cut it out from existence.
Yeah.
Like stuff that it still happened. But that really annoys me. But shout out to the other guys that also won their first event that the CDL won't talk about. Because regardless of what era they played in, it's hard to win an event in any era.
Especially your first.
Yeah,
First
it's hard to
land.
win an event in any era. You're only obviously like I'm sure guys like the Big T Rambo Sharp Dodgers team, if they had to face up against Atlanta Faze, I'm sure they'd get smoked. But in their era, the ceiling was only so high, and they were at the top of it. So
Yeah.
shout out to those guys. A funnier thing from the weekend, Karma in like a drunk moment on stream when he was drinking during the Scump watch party continues to talk about how he would love to coach OpTic. Dashy was there being like, yeah, if you want to coach, that's Damon, he can coach. That's interesting. Obviously, we know Karma very knowledgeable about the game, but personality wise, doesn't seem like he would want to be all that committed with that time commitment.
Yeah.
It's
interesting.
Yeah, Karma kind of just seems like a guy that kind of fly by the seat of his pants, just having fun. Like would be locked in when he wanted to be for like matches, but like I could see him just like saying he wanted to coach, then getting in and be like, nah.
Yeah,
I'm done with this.
He's like too laid back, just wants to do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah. I definitely don't question his ability to coach. He knows the game probably better than most people. And if he's motivated and really wants to do it, I'm sure he'd make a hell of a coach. Because I do feel like with his personality, he's very likable too. So he could probably get through to players and get players to listen to him. And half the battle when you're a coach is honestly having players respect you and listen to you. And I don't think there's any player that would play the CDL that wouldn't respect what Karma has to say to them. I mean, he has what they're all chasing. Not only one ring, but 3 of them.
Yeah.
So I don't think he'd run into any issues with respect from the players. But interesting to see like how interested he'd actually be, considering was a little bit under the influence of some drinks when he was talking about it. But he has apparently, I don't really watch his stream much, but apparently he has said it on stream when just hanging out too, that he'd be interested in doing that.
Maybe he'd be like a part-time coach.
Yeah, even something like just consulting, like checking in on scrims. The only issue with that is I feel like it's really tough to like only do it sometimes, because like you can't really see the development of the team, and like maybe one week they're really good at something, the next week they struggle, and you can like, if you're not there each day, you can't tell why they're getting better or worse. I feel like you kind of either have to be all in or not at all.
Yeah. So could have been the drinks that was talking, but
yeah, he'd make a great coach though if he was serious about it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's talk about team of the tournament. So this is basically, I mean, I think you guys all know what this will be. Actually, we have one other thing to talk about that I think we forgot to mention last week before we do this. Brock, you for the first time are the champion of the pick'ems.
Oh, that
Major 3. It doesn't include the bracket. I suppose we could go on the CDL website and see who got more points. I think it was a pretty rough bracket for both of us.
I think I looked real quick. I had like 11 points.
Yeah, I'll go look at mine quick. But that considering that our winner for both of us finished top 6, that's tough. Well, you got 11 points.
Yeah.
I had 10. So I got the top 2 matches in the winners bracket, right? And then obviously I picked New York and OpTic, so that was wrong. I did get the 2 of the matches right in losers bracket, but the issue was I got none of the matches right in the bottom of losers bracket, so it was just chalked. Then I had a Faze Surge final. Neither team was obviously in the final, so overall pretty chalked bracket for me as well. It was a rough one. But anyways, you for just like the regular season matches of Major 3 did end up winning. It was a little bit of a blowout. I actually had my first negative points week since week 1 of Major 1 when we didn't know what was going on. Never had a negative points week since then, but I had -4 as a rough week. I got a lot wrong, and I did pick was it Toronto? Yeah, I did pick Toronto for the 4-pointer to beat London, and they lost. And they lose that match, and then they go on to win the tournament, whatever. But I got -4. I finished this This stage was my lowest total since Major 1, which was 3, and you finished with 10. The second highest score of the year, second to my 22 for Major 2. So you won.
Did it. We're
You got
back.
a chance to come back now because that keeps you alive. Because if you'd have lost that, it's technically a best of 5 series, with 5 majors. So if you'd have lost that, you're done for. You stayed alive. It's 2-1 now. I'm in the lead.
Mm-hmm. Reverse sweep incoming.
Yeah, so you're alive for the reverse sweep. But now that we covered that, we got to talk about team of the tourney. So essentially, I'm sure you guys all know what this is. Basically, like you're not picking necessarily like statistically the best player. It doesn't have to be like this guy had the highest KD of the main AR, so he's my team of the tournament main AR. It's just like kind of who you felt was the best main AR, best flex, and then best 2 SMGs. Maybe your honorable mentions if you have multiple, you can mention them, like guys that you considered for each position. The one kind of obviously I looked at some stats, kind of looked at how I thought they played when watching them, their impact on the map, and then I did factor in their placement. Like there are certain guys on here like Nasty and Afro and Asim have some pretty crazy stats from the weekend, but it's tough for me to consider anybody for team of the tournament if they didn't win a series. That's very tough to do. So my criteria was they had to probably have at least one series to make it, because they had to at least get like top 8 of 12 teams. It's pretty tough to say, hey, you got dead last, but you deserve to be in the top 4 players of the tournament.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's get into that. Let's start with our main AR. You can say your main AR and your honorable mentions, and then I'll go to mine. I'm curious to see how many players we have similar. Maybe we have the same team. Maybe we have completely different. I feel like we're going to have the same flex. It's pretty hard not to say that guy, but who's your main AR? Actually, let's start with our flex, because I'm sure we have the same one. It's hard not to say. The tournament MVP is on the team of the tournament.
Scrapadoo.
Yeah, he kind of has to be, considering he's the MVP of the tournament on the winning team.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of has to be.
He also fried.
Yeah, he had an incredible event. Wasn't an undeserved MVP. He played extremely well. His splits on his stats. Where is it here? He had a 1.2 overall, 1.11 in hardpoint, a 1.36 insertion, a 1.3 in control, and seemed to just come up big in every moment. Every time it seemed like Ultra needed a big 2 or a big 3, it was Scrappy in the kill feed.
100%. I think he had like a 1.33 in the final too.
Yeah, it was something pretty damn good. But we come to expect that out of him with how good of a player he's been all year, especially in playing.
The only thing negative I'll say about him is I thought he was talking some more trash or should shoot some bodies towards the end. Which I
was expecting his post finals interview to be a lot of trash talking, but he took the respect for all, which I actually don't hate. I did want to see him talk some trash, because that's what he's known for. But I actually didn't hate that he kind of came out and showed some respect, because it also the act is good for a while, because it's good for viewership, and even if it's not authentic, it's kind of good, like the WWE style of Call of Duty. It's kind of good for the act. But I kind of do like that. He won, and he was instead of talking trash, he seemed like he was really reflecting and happy about the moment. So I actually did enjoy seeing him super happy and being respectful to the opponents in that moment. The rest of the time, talk trash when you're in the match, talk trash. But I kind of did enjoy, him showing more of his real self rather than his character he plays.
Yeah,
I did enjoy that aspect.
Scrappy.
You got honorable mentions for your flex? I have 2. I don't know if you have any.
Octane. Even though he didn't play as many. Oh, not Flex.
Yeah,
Flex.
Flex.
Cellium.
Yeah. Hard not to say Cell. If it wasn't for Scrap winning MVP, you could argue Cell could have been your starting flex, but with Scrap winning MVP, hard to deny him. Yeah, those are the 2 I had. I had Cell and Temp. It's hard to say really anybody else even comes close in terms of flexes, though. Awakening, if we're considering Beans their main AR, Awakening had some really, really good moments in this tournament, but he did have a really rough series on Sunday. So that probably knocked him out of contention. Yeah. But Cellium, a 1.33, I saw that is his 6th event as the highest KD in the tournament, which passed Scump and puts him behind Formal and one other player. I can't remember who it is, maybe Simp. I can't remember who it is, but it puts him ahead of Scump now for most tournaments as the highest KD at the tournament. Dude had a 1.4 in hardpoint and a 1.73 in search. Yes. And then Donnie Temp, 1.5 in hardpoint on the weekend, and the dude was cooking. It was a catalyst for why Vegas had a chance to make a Sunday.
I'll give another honorable mention. Dan Ghosty. He kind of surprised me at moments in time.
He did that. That's more of an eye test one because overall, stats 0.98, basically a 0.98 in every mode, pretty much across the board. But that's an eye test one. Like, yes, he had a 0.98, but major reason as to why OpTic made that run. Like, he looked rough in some of the qualifier matches, not the best in the first match, but then he did step it up. He had some big maps. That hotel control specifically in the finals. He was clearly the best player on the map.
Yeah.
On that one, and really propelled OpTic to, at that moment I thought OpTic was winning when they won that hotel control, because that's like maybe Ultra's strongest map, and that put OpTic up 2-1.
Yeah.
I really thought that at that moment that OpTic was winning that series, beating them on arguably their best map, going up 2-1 in the series, going into Mercado hardpoint that OpTic had been so strong at. I thought OpTic was going to take the lead 3-1 and then just have to not blow it from that point.
Yeah.
And Dan Ghosty stepped up big time on the map. But yeah, I would agree. Maybe not stats wise, but big catalyst, big reason for their run onto the losers bracket. All right, I'll go first for my main AR, I guess, since we kind of just went for that one. I had Dashy. I think this one's actually pretty clear cut. I actually don't really think you can make an argument for a different player. I don't know if you agreed with that or not.
I see. I had Dashy. But I wanted to go different, so I picked Beans.
Beans is my honorable mention, so that is fair. He's like the one other guy I mentioned, but I think it's tough to say anybody else than Dashy. There were moments where he was everything in that London series. Maybe the reason why they won, it was tough to point otherwise.
Yeah, definitely popped off in the, was it the London, or like P4? No, not P4. Kitchen? Hotel kitchen?
It was on that map for Mercado where they looked like they were going to lose and they were in a big deficit. And Dashy was just getting every big kill. Finished 25-20 on that map with 3,100 damage, almost 3,200 damage. And it was like when they were down, it was like every rotation, it was like Dashy would pick up a crucial kill to get the break into the rotation, and then they'd win it, and then they just chained and chained and chained. And he had a 1.15 overall, highest on the team in that series, and 12,400 damage, most on his team by like over 2K. Pretty crazy series from him, and I don't know, overall with the splits, Dashy stats are always going to look great because that's just what he does, and it seemed like on Sunday he wasn't missing.
Definitely.
But I did have Beans as my honorable mention. I do think that's the one. If you would have said anybody else besides him, I would have said, what are you doing? But I do think that's the one fair person that you could say.
Yeah. So either or.
Yeah.
I want good old baked beans.
And it's a fair shout from you too, because everybody is going to go Dashy with the tournament he had, but Beans deserves his love too. He did a couple stinker series, couple stinker maps for him here, but overall, especially in that first series in winners round 1 against OpTic, he was dominating.
Yeah.
Let's go to SMGs. Let's hear your duo that you got. Then I'll give my duo, and we'll talk about our honorable mentions.
My duo is Kleenex and Shotzi.
Okay, I have one of those, not the other. I do have Kleenex in my honorable mentions, but I have Pred and Shotzi as my SMG duo. Pred was everything for Seattle in this tournament. He had the control against Faze where he dropped 40 to keep them alive in the series.
Yeah,
guy was incredible, and honestly, wasn't for a crazy hip fire shotgun to the head from Simp, he probably would have found himself in winners finals.
Yeah, literal shotgun.
Yeah, shotgun to the head in bottom orange on Abezy.
Can't make it up.
It was an insane kill, and he was like weak going in there. Probably only needed to get hit with 1 or 2 bullets. Pred knew where he was going, probably hurt him. And as he's popping daddy, he just hip fires for whatever reason. Pred maybe doesn't hear him or whatever, doesn't pre-aim him, but Pred gets that kill. I think Seattle's on to winners final, and maybe a whole different tournament then. But Pred on the weekend. Where is it here? He finished with what was it? Pred finished with a 1.25, 1.18 in hardpoint, 1.4 in search, and a 1.3 in control. Dude was out of this world. And then Shotzi was around a 1.1, but I think everybody knows in that losers bracket run, it's especially a lot of Sunday, he was just flying around the map. So decisive. Was having so much impact on what OpTic was able to do. especially
He
in
was
that Faze
moving.
series. He was just flying. Like he wasn't putting up crazy numbers a lot of the maps. He was, having good maps numbers wise, but just the impact he was having, he was so annoying. The one map that he was bad on though, that Hydro in the final. Dude,
Yeah,
like you keep getting killed in the water, stop swimming for once.
too much swimming.
He was trying too much in that Hydro in the final.
Yeah, definitely. But on the Mercado, but P the warehouse, he broke it by himself basically.
Yeah, and he was just doing that all weekend. It was like he would get one and he would just disappear, and it's like where's Shotzzy? They're counting for Shotzzy, and it would allow other people, to move up on the map, get in a position, get a kill. Shotzi's impact was unreal. So,
Yeah.
you said Kleenex though. I had Kleenex on my honorable mention. He was just a little bit too inconsistent compared to Shotzi and Pred, which is why I had him there. My other honorable mentions, Simp and Abezy. I thought they were incredible all weekend. I had a rough Sunday that makes their stats look a little bit worse than they actually were.
Mm-hmm.
But those two were unreal Thursday and Saturday on their way to winners final before they kind of bottomed out on Sunday. But yeah, I had the Tiny Terrors and Kleenex as my honorable mention. You want to talk about your two guys while you had Kleenex and Shotzi up there and honorable mentions you had?
Yeah. Clinics and Shotzi the eyeball test. Every time I see him, he's doing everything for his team.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the final. Not the final, the Faze series. Cooking Simp and Abezy. I almost said 40 on that one map. What the map was.
Yeah. Yep.
And for Clinics, I picked Clinics since I was thinking about Pred, but we all know how good Pred is. But in Clinics won his first LAN event, so I picked Clinics. And he also was doing pretty good for the most part during the weekend.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a fair shout. It's not an outrageous one. I instantly put him on my honorable mentions. He also has something that only one other SMG has in the weekend, and that's the championship from the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a pretty big factor in terms of becoming team of the tournament. But I think both these rosters would be pretty disgusting if they had to compete Dashy, Scrap, Pred, and Shotzi. The roster I had, yours was what? Bean, Scrap, Kleenex, and Shotzi. Also would be a pretty disgusting roster.
Yeah.
These guys all played extremely well.
Went a little different, but that's all good.
Yeah. I mean, they're all players that were fair. They're all in my honorable mentions. I went a little bit more chalk with it, but I mean, they were all fair players. They weren't anything outrageous, I would say. I don't think anybody would think they're outrageous. Although some of the OpTic fans out there aren't too happy with Beans. They might disagree with you on that.
Yeah. I got one more honorable mention. Marky B, Foot's player.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought you were gonna say Doug for finishing top 3.
Oh man, Doug should have won it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we got a new strat for Fortress Search. Doug just jump across front closed door and then climb up the stairs, plant front side, then flip the map back.
Mm-hmm.
Play like P5. That's a heck of a. I took some mental notes on that play, and I'm going to be using that in ranked.
That was a good play because the other team was just like they were kind of like what's going on here.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that in this. I saw who was it this weekend? Was it Boston against what? Did Boston and OpTic play a silo search? I can't remember who it was. I can't remember who it was, but whoever it was, they were basically like hitting A on a silo.
Yeah, it was Boston.
Yeah, I think it was Boston too. They were 4-hitting a search on a silo. Basically, like they knew where somebody was going to be playing, or they knew somebody was going to be playing close. The second they got that blood, they hit that B alley, dashed out through the control point, and just instantly hit B and planted. It was like they got the kill on A, pop Deddy, make you think they're still on A, working a plant and everything, working their setup, and then they were gone. They were on B, and it took so long for the other team to rotate since they were at A, and it's a great strat. And the Doug strat where he's planning for front, flipping the map on its head, and getting creative. That was good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Marky B. Guy won an event, or not an event. Guy won a map at an event for the first time in 5 years. Coming in cold. He even went 13-13 on the control. So shout out to Marky B.
Good composure out of Marky B. The search before he dropped the donut, but tough to go in cold on a search. Yeah.
You know what the funny thing is? There's probably so many people watching that were like, "Who even is Marky B?" They don't even know that he used to be that dude in EU back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He used to be that guy.
Definitely.
All right. Let's do the last part of the pod here. It seems weird that we're talking about the last part of the pod. We're about a half an hour in, but I don't know how long this is going to take. We're going to just go team by team, starting from kind of the teams that finished last to the teams that finished first. So obviously, we talked a little bit more about those top teams recently. Let's talk about some of the bottom teams. Going to kind of talk about their weekend, how it went wrong. Obviously, the bottom teams maybe not as much of their match this weekend because they only had basically the 1 or 2 matches, depending on if they were bounced from losers round 1, like Ravens and Rocker, or if they played 2 matches, like LAG and NYSL. Talk about their outlook going forward. What's got to happen? Was it a fluke weekend? Is a change needed for the team like LAG? I don't even know if they'll make a change. But let's start with probably the team that most people are talking about that dropped out in top 12, and that's NYSL. Definitely, I don't think you can even debate of these 4 teams the most shocking team that we have here. A lot of people were thinking they were making a run. I mean, I had them finishing second, third.
Yeah, I think
I had them finishing third.
Top 4.
Yeah, I had them finishing third. I would say most people had them finishing probably at the very least, top 6.
Yeah.
Probably most people top 4. They had a tough first matchup playing Toronto, so I think that's why some people might have them like at top 6. But I would say most people had them at least top 6, if not top 4 or better. Probably a decent amount of people picked them to win the event even.
Yeah.
Seemed like a very good team, but they bottomed out. What do you think went wrong? It's a little alarming that they went from first to now a top 8 and a top 12. Like after the top 8, we were like, yeah, rough travel day. Maybe that was it for them. But that now marks 2 tournaments in a row with very underwhelming performances from them.
Yeah, I know. Lazy. I don't want to say
maybe
lazy.
Bad practice. It's tough though.
Yeah, it could be because I don't know. Like since they won so early, it's just like they laid off the gas and just can't recover.
I think they had the classic OpTic where they win the first event and then maybe foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like not as hungry as well since they won already.
Yeah, and that's obviously all speculation because we're not in there practice seeing every day if they actually did that. But it's tough, especially with the way they lose to Florida is specifically alarming to me. They lost 2 hard points to Florida, and this New York team is a team I view that should be winning a majority of their hard points, especially against a team like Florida.
Yeah, definitely, since they got more talent.
Yeah, they should talent to Florida. I actually have been one of the people that I think I'm one of the stronger Florida supporters. I still really like this Florida roster, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. But New York, you can't be losing 2 hard points to Mutineers. I'll give them a little bit of a pass. Ultra Series, they played it tough. They win a very close hard point where they almost choked. They almost choked a massive lead on the map 1 hard point. Lose a search and destroy, whatever, lose 3 straight maps after that. But there were some overall pretty tight maps. But man, it's tough. I'll give them a pass for that Toronto one, like I said. But losing to Florida when you're a potential favorite, it's a tough weekend. I don't think that any changes need to be made. Obviously, I still think this team has high potential, but we got to figure something out in practice. What's going wrong when we get to LAN? We're able to make winners bracket, and something just isn't right on LAN clearly. Yeah. Since that first event, obviously.
Yeah, 2 tournaments now. Hopefully they can get it together because we want to see Hydra back up top.
Yeah, and this team is very entertaining, and I still think has the makings to be a team that come champs time on Sunday, they're sitting there with a chance to win it, or they're sitting there top 4 at champs. I wouldn't be shocked, but not a good trajectory they're on, especially because we know what happened with this team last year, how they crumbled team chemistry wise on the stretch. It's scary to think that they're kind of on the same trajectory, but hopefully they're a little closer and can overcome that. But move on to our next team. Let's go to London Royal Ravens. As odd as this sounds, they maybe had a better performance this weekend than I expected.
Yes.
I mean, they finished last. They didn't win a single series, but
play tough.
Their expectations are that low that I'm like, they fought against OpTic very, very well. And to be honest with you, they probably should have beaten OpTic. I felt like for a majority of the series, I mean, they come out, they win map 1. OpTic wins a close search map 2. Ravens take the control and then had a big lead in map 4, and then had a 3-0 lead in game 5.
Ooh.
Ravens probably should have taken the series, honestly, 3-1. And then they probably should have taken it 3-2 because they got up 3-0 on the search and then ended up losing 6 of the next 7 rounds to lose the map.
So it could be a whole different series.
Whole different tournament. If OpTic bows out dead last, who the heck knows how this shakes out, because OpTic obviously ends up making a run all the way to finals.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say London would have taken their place and made the run to finals, but crazy to think that, this tournament completely changes if OpTic misses out on even losers round 2.
Mm-hmm. Would you say they played them? The Ravens played them the toughest in the loser bracket run?
I mean, it's probably fair to say. Just like taking a look to job my member here at the bracket, like they had a very tough time with Ravens. They handled Mutineers pretty good. Surge had some tight maps, but they handled them. Breach, they handled them pretty good with that dominant couple hard points. Faze, they handled pretty good with the 100-point club hard point. Yeah. In the losers bracket, obviously Toronto beats them, but in the losers bracket, yeah, London probably did give them the toughest run, and they played teams like Boston, Faze, and Surge.
Yeah. Man.
But in terms of London, like, I don't know. I don't have much hope for this team going forward. They're not going to qualify for champs, and they're probably not going to make any more roster changes because they're a low spender. So we're getting to the point of the season where it's probably time to not talk about London that much, because they're just probably not going to do a whole lot more.
Free my boy Asim.
Nasty played very well this weekend too, so shout out to Nasty.
Yeah,
Even Scraps, he had some good pop up moments. Like, this team has talent. Like Asim, Nasty, Scraps. Paul is okay. I just don't like him in the sub role as much.
Yeah.
But if London can re-sign Nasty, if they can finally get a decent team around him, he does have some potential to make some noise. I like Nasty. He seems to be developing more, and this flex role maybe suits him more.
Yeah, I think it is.
They showed some progress, but it's going to be too little, too late. So it's not going to be enough. I can't see them doing much more. I would expect them to have another top 12 finish the next major.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to make any changes unless it's like a random substitute in or something.
Let's put Trey back in.
Yeah, as a sub, he's done it before, but yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Let's go to Rocker. Jeez. Rough.
Man.
That's all I can say. It's rough. I don't know how much worse it could get. Rocker don't win a map this weekend. Obviously, only get to play one series, but get 3-0'd by LA Thieves. I would say they blew their chance at this series. Early on in that HP, they had a lead, and if they're able to take that at map 1, and they had the rotation. It was on Hydro. They had the rotation to P2 where the map finished out. Had the rotation, could have easily closed it out there. Don't close it out, lose the map, and then from there they get kind of rolled in search and control.
Yeah, I feel like they were checked up to the kind of the troll job P2 hardpoint on Hydro.
Yeah, I mean, is it time to blow it up? They didn't win a series. They didn't win a series online or on LAN.
Something's got to give.
This entire tournament.
I feel like it's time to blow it up, but will they? Is the real question.
Yeah, it's interesting, to say the least. Probably time to blow it up, I would say, but I guess you never know. They might not do it because they do have a lot of money invested in this roster. We know that. Maybe
they'll try to do like a role swap. I don't know what they would do really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they do. You're not taking Afro off a sub. You're not putting Cammy to a sub off the flex. I mean, Attached technically has been a sub in the past, but that won't fix their pacing issues, and I don't really want Bance on a main AR or anything. So yeah, you don't really have role swaps you can make on the team, in my opinion. Otherwise, what you shoot? I don't know. You maybe bring in like Fame.
I don't know.
Yeah, they have to blow up the coaching staff. I mean, that I actually don't think Looney needs to go. Brian Saint got to go. Been the coach in SMW. You've won the one event, and it was because you had the most insane comeback of all time. The 4-0 reverse sweep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's got to happen. There's no doubt about that. Maybe you bring in Fame from your challengers roster for Bance. Their ARs on their challengers roster are Pander and God RX, two very underrated players. People hear those names, they're like, older players, they suck. Not true. They're good players. I just don't know if either of those guys are the solution, especially because Pander, I think, can speed it up, but God RX, from every time I've watched him, has been a little bit slower of a player. And I don't think they need anybody slower on this team. They need more pace. So that's the one thing I could see. Maybe you bring in Fame for Bance, because Bance is a very good player and brings his own stuff to the team, but he's not incredibly fast. I think this team just needs somebody with Afro to just go get in your face and open the map up for their ARs. Maybe Fame could just come in and play a little faster. I don't know. Maybe Real. I don't really know.
Yeah, Fame most likely. Just try him out on the qualifiers. See how it works.
Yeah, I mean, it quite literally can't get worse than what this last stage was. They didn't win a single series.
Yeah.
So it can't get worse. Like, you try it out. Try out Fame, try out Real, see which one fits better with Afro.
Try
Because
everyone
Afro,
out.
it's hard to get rid of Afro, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Let's talk LAG. Well, I guess going forward for Rocker, I want to talk about this more when we get to Vegas, but going forward for Rocker, with them getting no points this stage, they're in 8th place still, hanging on to that 8th spot for champs at 110 points. But now knocking on the door behind them is the Legion at 90.
Oh.
You get 10 points per win. Legion are right there, and with the way Rocker's playing, it looks like they're knocking the door. Below that, though, LAG and Florida are both at 70, and then London's at 50. It's almost safe to say those three are eliminated, I would say. As bad as that sounds. I mean, in order to pass the 8th place team currently, LAG and Florida both have to win 5 matches. And there's, 2 stages left? I don't know if they can win 5 matches in 2 stages total. Then you go in 3 and 2 and 2 and 3. Those are solid finishes. That's a winner's bracket twice.
Yeah.
Or going 5 and 0 qualifier. I don't know if they can do that. I think Vegas might be the only team within striking distance, which sucks because you don't want to have every champs team determined going into the final event. It's not as fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
knows? Maybe a miracle will happen.
Rocker probably need to blow it up a little bit, at least make one change in the sub department and see what they can do. Our other team that finished last, don't have too much to say about them because it was just an odd event for them. That's LAG. If you pull up the breaking point stats, it's going to be one of the weirdest stats or matches you've ever looked at against Vegas because there's 6 players on there. Smart had to sub in for a map. Marky B played a couple maps. Nobody is green. Everybody's red. They all went negative overall. Yeah. Temp just dominated them this series. LAG just, I don't have too much to say. Obviously, we know this roster is not the greatest. I actually don't think that it's terrible, though. Like, Exceed impressed me this weekend. He played well in that series. I thought overall, given the circumstances. And Joe Deceives thought he played decent as well. I think they have something in that sub duo, but it just doesn't even matter because we can't talk about going forward because the organization's disbanding.
Yeah.
So you can't really talk about their future. This team's okay, but they're pretty chalked and they don't have anybody to pick up new players because they don't have an org.
Yeah, so they're just kind of stuck for the rest of the season.
So they're basically just a chalk team for the rest of the season.
Yeah, which is unlucky, but stuff happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to our top 8, got Mutineers first. Mutineers and Thieves are the 2 teams. Talk about Mutineers. I thought this wasn't a terrible weekend for Mutineers. They showed me something I wanted to see. I think they're a decent team. Like I said, probably too far out to get in right now. They're down 40 points from Minnesota for that last spot with a couple majors to play. It would probably take them getting multiple top 6, top 4 finishes and very good qualifiers to get in there. Probably like 3 and 2 or better. And the last 2 qualifiers, as long as like at least a top 6 finish at the majors would probably get them in. But, they do take out Subliners, an impressive team to beat, and then didn't have the worst series. They fought back against OpTic, but lost. So they got a tough draw playing Subliners and OpTic.
Yeah.
But still, they beat Subliners. They looked better. I'd say this Florida team, I'll look for me as positive. They might have dug themselves too deep of a hole with the early roster, but I'd say overall, for me, that looks positive because this is I think this Florida team has a higher ceiling than I've felt like the rest of the year prior.
Yeah, definitely the players have a higher ceiling.
Yeah, like, Capsule and Havoc can have pop-off maps for you, and when you maps fellow very good, steady player in Brack can have his pop-off moments, but steady. I still feel like they just have, like, a higher level main AR.
Potentially, yeah.
Maybe I would like this team a little more. Maybe they should have picked up Krim in the offseason when you potentially wanted to go there. I think Krim could be very interesting in this team with fellow Cap and Havoc. I think could be very interesting, but that's obviously not a thing because Krim's retired. But Mutineers, I think overall, looking forward, they might be in too deep of a hole, but I do like this team. I think they have potential to maybe crack a top 6 going forward.
Yep, I agree with that.
Okay, Thieves. Get off the positive note here. Negative event for Thieves. See, a top 8 is not good enough for this roster.
No,
that is looking to compete for
it is
chips.
not.
What went wrong for him this weekend?
Phase series.
Yeah, that was a tough way to start an event. I would agree.
Tough way to get 3-0'd like that.
Yeah. I
Especially the
will say though, they
first map
did
was
have
close.
they did have the ultimate chance to regain though, considering they got to bounce down and play the coldest team on earth, Rocker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then they lose to Legion. It was like two demoralizing losses for Faze or for Thieves.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely should especially the Vegas series. You can't give up a 200-point lead basically.
Yeah, what was it? Like almost 210 to 60 basically.
Yeah, 210 to 60 and they somehow just troll out that many points away.
Yeah, for a world championship team.
And then pretty much after that, they're chalked because I would be chalked after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think their whole weekend was basically chalked from the moment they lost to FaZe in the fashion they did.
Mm-hmm.
Like losing to FaZe is one thing; they're a great team, but losing in the fashion they did, they were dominated.
Yeah, they got 6-0 and 3-0 in control.
Yeah, and they were quick. It wasn't a bunch of close. That search and destroy was one of the most dominant search and destroys I can remember in recent memory. That was not like a man. Thieves just keep losing their ones in that search. Like they got roll. I mean, like look at the KDs in this series. Slasher had a 1. Abezy was third on his team with a 1.41.
Yeah.
Simp had a 1.44. Cell had a 1.63. Octane led Thieves with a 0.84. Octane had 5,200 damage, second highest in his team. Would have been the lowest on Faze.
Jesus, nah, it's just
the hard point was close, but yeah, absolutely horrible. And I mean, round count over the control and the search, like you said, 9-0 to Faze, as low as it can be. I'm not really that worried going forward though. This Thieves team, like as bad as it sounds, like we've seen them struggle before last year. You know, they always came out towards the end of the year and played very well. But it's a little bit concerning to see them struggle so bad against FaZe because like you only have so much time to catch up. I still do have faith in them, but
yeah,
I feel like sometimes we're also even putting maybe a little bit too much faith in them because they do have that world championship. It's like, you know, they'll figure it out, but sometimes teams don't figure it out. So I'm like slightly worried about them, but you know, no reason to make a roster change anything crazy like that. Like you got great chemistry. Keep grinding at it, but I'm gonna need to see something like a top 4 or better out of them in major 4, or I'm gonna really be worried.
I'm sure they'll be more hungrier next major.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, and they said like the mental block. I feel like on Faze right now, like OpTic does for Faze,
which is weird though because they kind of beat him up at the end of last year, especially in Champs final.
Yeah, I don't know. This game suits Tiny Tears better. They like the game.
Guess so. All right, our top 6, our 2 teams to finish top 6: Legion and Surge. Legion, good weekend from them. This is where I have a bone to pick with the way the league is formatted, though. So Legion went 2-3 in the online qualifiers, didn't play all that great, got 20 points for it, you know, for the 2 wins. They finished top 6 at the major, had a crazy good series against Thieves. You know, they won that series against LAG, whatever. Ended up getting kind of dominated by Boston, but you know, had a good series against Thieves, make it all the way to top 6, and they also get 20 points for that. I feel like getting top 6 on LAN and winning 2 matches should get you more points than getting 2 wins online. I get the philosophy you need to make online matches matter. So if they're worth like a complete fraction of what the LAN matches are, you know, maybe people won't try as hard in them. I do get all that, but yikes. It seems weird that they won 2 matches on LAN and that counted for the same amount as 2 matches online did.
Yeah, and everyone, yeah. Maybe LAN point. I don't know. They'll do it, but maybe LAN should be like double the points of online. But then, like,
yeah, I could definitely see something like that happening. I still wish they would do my thing that I want to do. I think like if you win an event, it should be an automatic champs bid.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
the only reason I don't like it is because like you could see a team like LAG win like major 2 and then not even have close to the same roster at the end.
Yeah.
So they would have to do something like your automatic champs bid only applies if you have 3 of the 4 players on the roster or something.
Okay.
Come champs time. But like I think that would always make the last event more interesting because I don't know if you remember like in Cold War when Surge was horrible all year online with like the Octane Gunless Classic, like that roster.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden at the end of the year, like at the major, they started to play really well on land. They made a run. They were like pushing for top 4. I think the last tournament would be so much more exciting if you had like any team could technically still make champs if you win this event. Like it keeps teams trying to the end, knowing that even if you have never won a match all year, technically if you roll up to the last event and you win, you're going to champs, something like that. But that's a format talk for a different day.
Yeah, I feel it's like top like I don't know, like top 6 and above gets like an extra bonus points for placing.
Yeah, something to incentivize land more than online. Obviously, you do get incentivized to win the tournament. That's going to go a long ways. But we saw a team LAG win a tournament last year and they didn't even make champs.
Yeah, the miracle run.
Yeah. So Legion though this weekend overall, I'm pretty impressed with them. They looked very good against Thieves. That LAG series, like I said, kind of whatever. But Legion, they continue to show that they're not a team that can just be ran over. Solid team. And I do think they have a realistic possibility now that they could make champs. Only 20 points behind 8th place, and the 8th place team is currently struggling immensely. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to jump any higher than 8th, really, because I think Faze and Toronto, who are 1 and 2, are going to continue to climb. OpTic's 3, they're not going to catch them. They're not going to catch New York at 4. They won't catch Thieves at 5. Highly doubt they even catch Boston, who they're 50 points behind. Highly doubt they catch Surge, who they're 40 points behind. And then it's Rocker, who they're 20 points behind. I don't think that Vegas will get much higher than 8, but I do think they have a realistic world where they can get to 8. Seems like Faze is most likely to get the 1 seed again for the millionth time. And I would be drooling over a chance to have a Vegas Faze round 1 where just like screaming my head off for Vegas to somehow upset the team that makes finals every year of the CDL in round 1. It would just be fun. Probably get smoked, but it'd be fun. At this point right now, I'd much rather see Vegas playing as the 8th seed than Minnesota, just with the way they're playing. Even though I do think Minnesota's more talented, but
right now, not so much.
Yeah. And, are there 6 team? Oh, what were you gonna say? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and shout out to Real,
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that.
Played pretty damn good from what I last saw in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, compared to what we had last seen of him, he did have pretty good event. I wonder what his splits were in this event, but yeah, I mean, eye test wise, Too Real, I came in with expectations couldn't be lower, and I actually like came out and I was like, Too Real, he had a pretty good event, like pretty good player. Shocker, Clay kind of knows what he's doing in terms of evaluation. Too Real didn't have anything crazy overall. If you look at his stats, he had 0.81. 0.94 in hardpoint, 0.78 in search, and a 0.55 in control. Really struggled in control. But like once again, this was like an eye test thing. We didn't say he played incredible, and his stats would, tell you that he played horrible. But you could tell like he was making impactful plays in the map. He had some nice plays in search and destroy. He popped a couple big pieces, on some
he's shooting some maps.
Yeah, on some hard points. And like I bet you if you go and break down his stats by match, I bet you his KD is extremely affected by that Boston match because they only played 3 matches. Like in the LAG series, he had a 0.86, and the rest of his team was fine. It's hard to get much better than that when you have one of your teammates at a 1.8. In temp. And then in that series versus Thieves, Too Real had a 0.96. So yeah, I mean, if you average it out, this isn't exactly how math works, but he had about a 0.9 for the first 2 series, roughly. And then that last series against Boston, where is it? He had a 0.58. Yeah. So that series against Boston really dragged his KD down on the weekend.
Overall.
If you take that out, he had more around a 0.9. He was impressive though. He was not insane by any means, but he looked like he could be a player on a winning team.
Yeah, definitely. He was not the 0.2 Real from Florida.
Yeah, that's for sure. Surge, Brock. As weird as it sounds, I feel like I should be really disappointed because I picked them to finish the event in first. But like, it wasn't the worst event from them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they keep it very close versus Gorillas. And then they should have beat Faze.
Yeah.
They go down 2-0. They set up the map 5, round 11. If Pred picks up a kill that he probably gets 99 times out of 100 on Simp bottom orange, they win that map. They're in winners finals against Ultra, and you never know what happens from there on out. But they probably lose composure, and then they just happen to drop down to the losers bracket where they're playing an OpTic team coming in hot.
They were hot that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just so super lucky the game 5 of Faze. Simp gets the 2Ps off Ripper, then oh man.
Yeah, and
it's just like they played like They played a badge. It's like, you got little shotgunned.
Yeah, and like it's COD. You know what? Sometimes at the end of the day, you're gonna get a top 6 finish where you're gonna lose 2 really tough matches. You're gonna lose in the winners bracket, and you're gonna lose in the losers bracket, and just 2 really tough matches against good teams. And that's really what I think happened. They played a great Faze team. That, by the way, those first 2 matches, like Faze in that match against Thieves, and then in the early on in the match against Surge, looked like they were literally not gonna lose a map the entire weekend. They looked unreal early on in the tournament, and you know what? Surge comes out and they play that Faze team. They take them to a game 5 round 11. If they win that, you never know. Maybe they win the tournament. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they beat Ultra in winners final and they win the tournament. There's a realistic possibility that happens. And then they just so happen to fall down into losers. And instead of getting blessed like Boston did when they fell in and got to play Vegas, Surge had to play a red hot OpTic.
Yeah, and the momentum was gone with them.
That's what I'd say. I'd say overall, they were just a play or 2 away from potentially winning this event, and it just didn't go their way. And you know what? That's kind of COD, I guess. That's COD in a nutshell. Sometimes it's just a player or 2 doesn't go your way, and it causes you to lose.
Yeah, and other players played decent for the most part. Besides probably like last map.
Yeah, and actually had a decent event. Overall, he had a lot of maps where I was like, man, he's playing all right. Which he's the guy that gets a lot of the flack for them.
Yep.
I will say I want to say I have full confidence in them going forward because I like this team. But with the way that they are a roller coaster, I wouldn't be surprised if they just all of a sudden came out and went 0-5 in a stage or something because that's just what they do.
12th place is this major.
Yeah, but I do think they'll be fine going forward.
Yep.
Let's we kind of already talked about the top 4 a lot, so we'll kind of go through them pretty fast. But Boston finished 4th. I'd say very successful weekend for them. Beans first event, first LAN event with this team. Come out, finish top 4. Once again, we had to say it for the other team. So talk about the world where Breach made winners final as well. They forced the map 5 versus Toronto. There's a world they close out that map 5, and all of a sudden they're in winners final. Guaranteed top 2. You never know.
Yeah,
or guaranteed top 3. I mean, you never know.
Yeah. Literally, you never know. One play here, one play there, goes the right way. Breach could be winning the tournament.
Yeah, and they smoke OpTic in the first series on the winner side of things. Like I said, lose that tight one to Ultra, then beat Legion, lose to OpTic. So it's a little concerning that they only beat OpTic and Legion this weekend. They did lose to Ultra and then OpTic again when they played them. So besides the good early win against OpTic that was cold, and maybe not in the form we saw them, they only did beat Legion. So maybe that's a little concerning. Like I could see where the narrative of a little bit of a fluke event could come from, but I do think that this team looks a little better with Beans than they did with Zinni. Seems to have a higher upside in terms of slaying and search and destroy. So I do like this Boston team going forward. I don't know that I see them repeating a top 4 finish, but I could see top 6 or better, in their future going forward.
Yeah, there's a good middle ground team, top 5, top 6, like always.
On the right day, can beat a top team. On the wrong day, could lose to a lower team and finish top 8 or something.
Yeah, literally. Tell her even last year, literally that's how they were.
Yeah, they just couldn't beat top teams last year.
Yeah, it's like they all couldn't play as like their best on the same day.
Yeah,
when it mattered.
Our third place team though, Faze. I don't have much to say about this team besides I thought they were literally about to have one of the craziest dominant tournaments in CDL history when they destroyed Faze and then started up 2-0 on Surge and were dominating them. I was like, this Faze team is about to run and like not drop a map on Route 2 Championship. And then almost get reverse swept by Surge, get 3-1 by Ultra, and then lose to OpTic, which OpTic really has his team's number, man.
Yeah, just no matter what the roster, OpTic has their number. The mental block is crazy.
But Faze, a little bit of another collapse on Sunday. It's just so interesting to see and maybe dive into why this team collapsed on Sunday. They made a roster change and didn't collapse last time, but I believe that's the same as Major 1, where they were in winners final, lost winners final, and lost losers final immediately after.
Yeah.
Where they were in a position, chance to go to the final, in winners final, and they didn't even end up making it. They lost back-to-back matches. But once again, still, we're saying, they crumbled or whatever, but once again, there they are in winners final. Chance to make some noise, get something done, and it is always Faze that just finds a way.
Yeah.
Find a way to just be there on Sunday in a position, maybe the favorite to win a championship. Don't get it done this time, but going to go out on a limb and say we're probably going to see Faze get another top 3 or better at the next event. Going forward, I feel still very good about this team.
They're still a good ass team.
Yeah, still like if I had to absolutely pick one team to win the next event and life on the line, I'm still probably going for Faze because they're probably the most likely to at least have a chance to be there in the final.
Yeah.
Even with
Definitely.
Ultra winning this event, I still would have more faith in Faze making it back to another final before Ultra, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah. Austin Slasher will get them right.
Yeah. These last two teams, honestly, we don't really need to talk about them that much because we focus a lot on Ultra, specifically since they won the event early on. But OpTic finished second. We talked about it a little bit when we talked about London, but what an interesting event for OpTic. They get smoked by Boston, probably should have lost to London, and imagine the conversations we'd be having now. They got 3-0'd by Boston and 3-1 by London, go 1-6 map count on the event, and they finished 12th. Conversations would be crazy. Instead, they go on a pretty crazy run. They beat London in a very tight match, and they beat a Florida team who was just coming off a good win, beat a very good Surge team that was in form, beat a good Boston team that dominated them earlier in the event, then beat FaZe, and then play a very tight final against Ultra, but fall short. I'd say Dan Ghosty maybe saved his career this weekend.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't really playing the best, and they get 3-0. All of a sudden, if you get double first round, it's looking rough for you, but then he plays very well on route to a crazy run to the finals.
Yeah, definitely. They almost had like the LAG. Yeah, LAG from last year type run.
Yeah, where like new player kind of comes in. A little different, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And then Ghosty, he's doing his thing, turned on Insight in the final.
Yeah. That early round in search you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. Also, just good teammate from what I hear. Just lets players do what they want, and he'll just be the gap filler.
Yeah, comms sounded very good as well from him. Seemed like he was communicating what he was doing, what he wanted the team to do very well. Kind of took a little bit of a leadership role in the comms. One thing I'll say, I'm a little cautious about this because, teams can get hot and lose runs. They still got smoked by Boston. They beat very good teams on route, but something like this OpTic team, no matter what the rosters, they just like always seem to struggle in winners bracket. Like they put themselves in this bad position where they're like are in losers one all the time.
Yeah.
Something's got to change. Like you can't always have to make a miraculous run to get to top 4 and get to Sunday. Like sometimes just make a winners final. Like come on.
Yeah, let's see do a phase. Let's do them a phase. Winners final.
I guess maybe they play better with their backs against the wall, but like come on.
Yeah, but like
So I'm a little worried that maybe it could have been a hot streak because they hadn't looked that consistent or great with this roster since. So I'm a little worried it could be a hot streak, but at the same time, it's still a team with Dashy and Shotzzy on it. So like pretty hard to not have at least a little bit of faith in that team because those are some talented dudes. And Kyler played very well at times this weekend too. Kyler early on in that final especially was piecing.
Kyler's playing like they don't want to give him a spot up next year.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. They were chanting OpTic Pred, but our last team to talk about, Ultra. We already said like we talked about them so much since early on. We had to talk about MVP and everything, and this team winning. But just what can you say? You can't really say too much negative on them. They played very well this event. It's not like they had an easy road either. Technically, you might think they did because they never dropped to losers, but they beat Subliners, our Major 1 champions. Boston, who was coming off a very good momentum win against an OpTic team. FaZe, who are, consistently usually our best team. And then a red hot OpTic team at their home major.
Yeah.
So they beat our previous 2 event winners, a hot Boston team with a new roster, and then a red hot OpTic at home. Like, could ask for much tougher teams for them to play, and they answered every challenge.
They sure did. Hey, Hexy, whatever Hexy done to that team, man.
I'm a fan. Obviously, it's easy to say now that they won an event, and if you look at his stats, once again, this is why we always talk about eye tests. Stats wise, Hexy, what did he have this event? He pulled a little like classic like theory from World War II, although it was a lot better stats wise than theory. But 0.9 overall, 0.93 in hardpoint, 0.83 in S&D, 0.87 in control. But it's just everything he's doing on the map. There's a reason that CleanX looks so good and made your team of the tournament. I do believe that has a lot to do with Hexy just allowing him to be so much more free on the map.
Yeah, definitely. A young Bant.
Actually, I think I might have just looked at the wrong stats also, by the way, for Hexy. I think I might have had all selected and not just Major 3. Hold up. Did I look at the wrong stats? I might have just lied to you on Hexy stats.
He wasn't doing that bad though at all. He was
It's not like he was just getting destroyed. Yeah, I did lie to you. I lied. He had a .96, much better than a .9. .97 in hardpoint, a 1.0 in search, and a .94 in control. So like, doing all the dirty work, but also like, not getting like, it's not like he was dropping a .7, getting turned on while doing objective work. Like,
Yeah.
he was doing his thing, allowing the map to open up, and he wasn't just like doing dirty work. He was having some moments where he was piecing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I'd say shout out to that boy Hexy, because even if you don't think he's the best player, you can't deny the fact that he just joined this team that was struggling a little bit, and then their first LAN tournament with him, he just so happened to win it.
Yeah, comfortable. He made Cleanish comfortable and Scrap more comfortable.
I mean, yeah, and the dude also averaged 80 seconds basically of hill time per map. That's a minute 20 in the hill. That is a lot.
Yeah.
Very low first blood percentage, which is a little bit weird. But like the thing that Scump said that I was actually 100% thinking as well on the watch party when, we were watching that was like, this dude is just playing his life so well.
Mm-hmm.
Like in so many situations where like you'd see a lot of people maybe, throw their life away and just like make a boneheaded play. It was like, he knew when not to challenge, and he was like, I'm just going to sit out here. I'm going to make the correct play and got it done. I mean, players that were above him in hill time, on average per map this weekend, Octane, Accuracy, Joe Deceives, Simp, TJ, Paul, Ghosty, and then Hixie. It's like a lot of players that you'd think of, dirty work type players, TJ, Paul, Ghosty, Accuracy, guys like that. Octane, turret in the hill. Guys you'd think that would potentially be ahead of him, but, overall, very, very, very good weekend from the boys. And Hixie specifically impressed me with, his composure and everything. Insight also had some big time maps and big time moments, but we've come to expect that out of Insight. He's a clutch player.
Yep. I also liked how Toronto they're kind of struggling in the qualifiers, and they pulled the plug on Standy real quick, not let it spiral downward.
I mean, yeah, it was a bold play. Everybody was like, "What? Like he's a good player. Your team has been like top 4, top 6 every event. Like, what are you doing?" And clearly, they knew something we didn't, and that's why we always say when roster changes are made, we're like, I think we even said it about the Standy one. We're like, it's very puzzling because Standy's a very good player, and they played pretty well. But we always like put a disclaimer on everything we say is like, from the outside, Standy probably looks like, I would think talent wise, he's a better player than Hixie. But we're not in that camp, and clearly something they see makes them want to make this change. So even if I don't think it's the best roster move, I always put that asterisk on it where I'm like, but I'm not in the camp. So something might be wrong that's causing them to like believe they can't play as well. And even if Hixie is a technical worse player than Standy, if he fits the team better and is going to make the chemistry better, he's in general going to be actually a better player for that team. And we never know because we're not in that camp.
Yeah.
So you always give them the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes it's going to end up being a terrible move. And, if Toronto would have got top 12, we would have said, wow, that move really sucked. But they didn't. They got first, and they played incredible. There wasn't a weak link. And they're not maybe like an LAG team last year that I was like, I don't think they can keep this up. I definitely could see a world where Toronto can keep this up and be a consistent top 3 team from here on out. Not 100% sure they'll do it, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to say Toronto could be a top team for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I agree. Just Standy's also not a bad player by any means. Just it didn't mesh.
It seemed like from what we hear too is maybe a chemistry issue even out of game. Potentially just didn't get along. But yeah, I would 100% agree. Standy, still a very good player in the right situation, could be very good.
So some teams should get him if he's gonna sit the bench the rest of the year for the Toronto.
If Toronto's willing to part ways with him.
That's a tough thing. Yep.
Yeah.
I would have said maybe LEG, but they'll have no one left.
yeah, and they also just are. Yeah, they had no money to sign anybody because they took all their money out of it.
Yep.
You got anything else though before we wrap it up?
No, not really. Just hopefully another banger major next time.
Yeah,
Major
hopefully
4.
we got a couple more left. All right. Yeah, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the major. I really had a fun time. It was a very good major, lots of good storylines. The OpTic run was fun to watch. Seeing a new team win was also fun, but it was a fun time. I'm looking forward to getting back to qualifiers. We'll have to brainstorm what we want to do for next week because we don't have predictions to do as Next week there aren't any matches that weekend, this weekend or next weekend. So got like a little break here as we always do after. So we'll brainstorm what we want to do. We'll talk about that, figure it out. Bring you guys some kind of new content next week as we await that next major. But if you guys enjoyed this one on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. So close to that goal of 1,000. So if you're listening to this, watching this, and you enjoy it, a sub would mean a lot. Our main goal right now is to hit that 1K mark before the end of the season. So we'd appreciate that. Drop a comment down below your thoughts on the major. How did your bracket look? Was it chalked, or did you overall have a pretty good bracket? Don't lie to me and tell me you had a perfect bracket. I know you didn't. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review on there. We've been seeing a crazy amount of increased support on there, so we appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.